we have Kimberli on the call and we have Christian on the call. And so what I wanted to do today is I'll ask them a few questions here and there, but really, and I'll set it up for them, but I wanted Christian and Kimberli to talk about how Kimberli was able to come into the company. And obviously the topic was 0 to 100,000. The reason why I put that, Kimberli, is because that's where you're at so far for the years. You're at 100,000 for the year in business. And so I thought that was amazing. I thought it was a great goal for people to learn how to go from 0 to 100 grand, what it takes. Obviously I think Christian's amazing at what he does. And so he's been probably a great person to learn from, especially since he's done this at a high level for many years now. So I wanted them to come on the call and talk a little bit back and forth amongst each other. Maybe Christian can dig in a little bit for some things that maybe Kimberli is not telling you exactly, not because she doesn't remember, just because it's just conversations they've had in passing. And so let's talk about that. So here's what I like to start off with, and maybe I'll start with you, Kimberli, and then Christian, I'll jump to you in just a second. Is Kimberli, can you give us just a little, like a kind of a brief background of where you came from prior to joining us selling insurance with us?
So prior to selling insurance with us, I was involved in advertising. And before advertising, I taught school. And before that, I was a radio announcer.
Okay, so we're going to dig in a little bit more, because I'm always like, the vague stuff doesn't work real well for me. So we're going to kind of get into it. So you started initially as a school teacher, is that right?
I did. I got
Okay.
my college degree in education.
Okay, so education, and then you went from there to what was the second one? Advertisement was the third one. What was the second one just then?
Well, when I was in college, I was a radio announcer. And that's how I worked my way through college.
Okay.
Was by being a radio announcer.
What type of music?
Beautiful music. Memories,
Gotcha.
like Frank Sinatra.
I love it. Hey, listen, I'm a huge Frank fan, so that's okay. So you did music in college, and then you went to teaching. How long did you teach for?
About 10 years.
For 10 years. And why did you get out of teaching?
I got out of teaching because I had been assaulted twice. And then the last year I taught, I had a young man that I didn't know about. He had a gun in his book bag, and I didn't know about it until the sheriff's deputies came to my classroom.
Holy cow.
Looking for him. So I thought, I like what I'm doing. I think I'm making a difference, but is it really worth my life? I know that sounds kind of corny, but that's what I thought.
No, I mean, I could understand that. That's a pretty compelling reason to get out of teaching, for sure. Okay. And so then you went to advertising. Who did you work for advertising?
I started off with Yellow Pages. And at that time, when I was doing Yellow Pages, it was phenomenal. I changed people's lives. You could, basically have someone who started a business in a car, living out of a car, and make them look like a big roofer. You know what I'm saying? And I changed so many lives with being able to use the power of Yellow Pages to make these guys and gals just starting out look big, and they got money and they grew their businesses, and it really changed their lives and their families' lives.
You should, if you ever get a chance to chat with Rick Azuri, you should talk to Rick Azuri about Yellow Pages. He built a huge business from using Yellow Pages, so you guys would have a lot in common. So that's cool. So you did advertisement, Yellow Pages, and then did you recently get out of Yellow Pages, or was that something you did prior to coming up, like a while?
My company I was with, they saw the writing on the road, on the wall, so we switched over to internet marketing.
Okay, so you switched over to internet.
Yes, so I transitioned into websites and SEO, search engine optimization, Google AdWords, online advertising ads, things like that.
Nice. Did you do that marketing yourself, or did you just sell the ability to somebody?
I did it myself in a way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would work with the artist. I would work with the engineers. I knew I wasn't as advanced. I wasn't a big tech person, but I knew some things to do that worked. Am I making sense?
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm just there's no right or wrong answer to that. It's more of I'm just kind of curious. It's interesting to find everybody, Kimberly's got such a diverse background where they came from before they got here, and then there's always a story on how they got here. And so I'm curious. It's always curious. So why did you leave doing that? I'm curious about that.
Well, I I tried and tried and tried from the beginning to get my clients as good of results that I got with the yellow pages, with the internet, and I used all the tools and everything in my power, and I couldn't do it. I got to a certain point that was pretty good, but then the company that I worked with, they told us that we had to start selling stuff to our clients, whether they needed it or not. For us to be able to sell them the things that would really help them, we had to attach this other stuff to it. And that
Gotcha.
was it. That was it for me. So
No, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, as much as I know like this much with it when it comes to SEOs and stuff like that, but it's a world of a difference based upon old school print and I mean, it's very similar, Kimberly, to our direct mail style approach to leads versus the Facebook marketing leads. There's such a huge difference. I mean, 1 million people can do the Facebook marketing and get nobody from them. And then people get the direct mail style leads from us where it comes back in IVR. It's such a world of difference. So I don't know how you replace that, but okay. And so you came over, you saw insurance. What was the kind of give me, like, I remember when someone told me about it back in 09-ish area, and how I like this is how much you make. You go out and see a client, or you see a client, you talk to a client, you sell a client, however you go approach them, and how much you make. What was it that caught your attention about this style of business when you first heard about it?
well, we were on our 4th of July vacation, and my niece came
Okay.
from up North Florida, and she was talking about this job that she had with Equus Financial, and she was so excited about it, and she was doing well, and she told me she had like 4 or 5 appointments per day, and I thought, you're making 4 or 5 appointments per day? That was just phenomenal to me that you can make 4 or 5 appointments today with clients and have those many opportunities. So because with what I was doing, it was very difficult to get 4 or 5 appointments per day. So that's what really caught my attention, was the ability to be able to do that. And then she was doing well. And she told me Equus Financial. So when I got back from vacation, I just started Googling and playing on the internet with Equus Financial. And I saw Christian. And Christian, I think it was on LinkedIn. And it said, I will show you how to make $20,000 per month. So I called him. And that was the beginning.
That's how it worked. Hey, listen, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason for how things worked. I mean, you saw it, someone initiated it, you Googled it. I had my resume on Monster. So, who knows how you're going to find people. Everybody always asks the magic question of how you're going to find people, Kimberly. And I'm like, I have no clue. I mean, everybody just comes to us in a different fashion. So I love it. I love it. Well, good. So this is where I'm going to bring Christian on, because here's what I want to do. I want to know, Christian, I'm going to kind of hammer you on this real quick, because I want you to really dig in with Kimberly. I want you to talk to her about things maybe that were causing her problems at first. Whether it was understanding leads, whether it was and I don't think that's going to be a problem, because knowing her background, that seems to be something that she's pretty fluid in. But whatever their problems were, we can talk about how you went out and did $11,000 this week, and it's great. And she's going to tell you she made a phone call, she booked an appointment, she sat with a client, she closed the client, she found their needs. That's pretty much the common denominator in sales in general, right, Kimberly? So it's nothing new on that front. What I want to know is, where were some of the hiccups along the way? And Christian, maybe you can talk to Kimberly about how you guys got around those around those issues. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Christian.
Sure. Yeah, appreciate it. Kim, those were things that I did not know about you. So I appreciate you sharing those things about the gun in the school. My God, I mean, it's crazy, crazy, but glad you're here. You're safe. So you know, don't have to worry about that here. So that's really nice. But you remember, keep in mind, guys, me and Kim met, it was like 2 years ago, Kim. And what we talked about was just the basics of the business. She wanted to know basically everything. I said, well, you're not going to know everything because I really can't explain everything to you right now because it's just so much. So you're going to have to learn as you get started. And as you get experience and you get that car moving, we're going to be able to steer, right, once you get moving. So the biggest thing, what would you say, Kim, I'm going to ask you, what would you say your biggest hurdle was in the beginning, right when we got started? Because it's taken 2 years for her to like really get rolling. And I told her it may, but what was your biggest hurdle, you think?
I think that my biggest hurdle, I don't know what my biggest hurdle would be. From the very beginning, I had no concept of this. I had no idea what this was really. And what you did, which is what I liked, is you modeled everything for me. So I didn't even really know what to ask. You let me listen to the phone calls. You made the phone calls to set the appointments in the beginning. So I just listened for a long time. I just listened while I was contracting and waiting for everything to come in. I listened to you every day, making the phone calls in the mornings. And then the appointments, you did the appointments in the, afternoon and evening. So I listened to you doing and watched you doing the appointments every day until my contracting got finished. So I didn't know anything. So I didn't even know enough to ask you very much. But by listening to you and watching you, when it came time when my contracting was completed, you had said to put it, what do you call it? Put it in lead order, do a standing lead order. And I did. And then I got the leads and you're like, I remember you calling me, you say, hey, you got your leads. I'm like, yes. You're like, go ahead and do the appointments. And I was like, oh my gosh. But you said to do it. And you said, hey, listen, just text me, take a picture of the needs analysis, text me, and I'll tell you what to do. And I was like, okay. I was terrified, but I did it. I called them, I made the appointments, and I did the appointments. I was sitting here with the leads before you called me. I didn't even know to call them, or I don't know. But you said, call them, set the appointment, do it. And that's what I did. I jumped in the water.
Well, I'll tell you, I remember your biggest hurdle. It was lack of consistency and it wasn't enough appointments. So I remember talking to you about that because this is a numbers game. That's all it is. But they'll never fail you, but you also will never beat them. And so when you're just consistent and do enough activity, the results are automatic. It's just a matter of building that discipline and those habits to be able to get there. And I remember I said, look, when you can do 24 appointments a week, you're not going to have any problems. So the biggest issue was just getting to that discipline and consistency in order to reach that milestone of that many appointments a week. Once you reach that, once you do enough, you don't have to worry about anything. It's not on you anymore. The numbers are going to take care of you. We didn't focus on the result. It's taken 2 years for Kim to get here. She wasn't very good. She blew a lot of sales. She didn't know what to do. But one thing about Kim, and she challenges me, that lady is consistent. It doesn't matter what, like if she has a bad week, she's showing up, buying leads, hitting those appointments next week. And that's the biggest thing I can take away from Kim's success, is just her consistency and her commitment to being disciplined.
Oh, there's so much more I'm about to ask. So just be ready. Because I'm sitting there listening to you guys talk, Christian, and I'm going for instance, like Kimberli, I want to know, do you feel like you would have been as successful if Christian wouldn't allowed you to listen to him book appointments initially?
I think that was the right thing at that time for me. And the reason I say that is because I really miss the daily coaching calls every day at 10 o'clock. And that helped me tremendously too with Scott Rumbo and Connor and the Burns brothers. But you know, that was right for me at that time. That's what I needed at that time. So
So it's interesting because if you look at your results, right, and then like we were talking about Jonathan earlier and teasing him, but we were like, and listen, all those guys that are down in Chuck's office, I can say that they're all great at writing. I like to pick on them, but if you notice a similarity, like Chuck's got on here and talked about how he dials and lets them listen. He's ran appointments with them just like Christian's ran with you, and you go, hey, listen. Well, what does that mean? Well, I think Kimberli, it's one of those deals where like when Christian dialed, did he ever get told no to? Did you hear him get told no to?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it makes it real. Like, hey, listen, he's not some freak of nature that just gets like people, he calls them and they just faint and go, oh, it's Christian. Boonk. I'm just going to buy something from him. That's not how it works, right? That's what, of course, that's what happens, Christian, of course. But Kimberli, that's not what happens, does it? He gets told no and hung up on as well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And then like you got to listen to him, like do appointments, and people tell him no on appointments as well, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, see, I'm going like, do you understand? Like that's what Chuck's guys got to do too. I remember Chuck would come into Orlando, Christian, and his guys would be with him and they'd be running appointments with him in Orlando. And Chuck wasn't closing all his appointments. They got to see no's, they got to see yeses. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, so that's clutch. The other part Christian said this. And he was talking about this to you as well, Kimberli. You put in a standing lead order almost instantaneous where you were getting a consistent flow of leads, right?
Yes.
Was it hard to trust that to get that going for you? Like hard for you to trust your own abilities right out the gates to start getting leads like that?
No, I guess because the job that I had before with the advertising, I had thousands of free leads,
Okay.
thousands of free leads, and they were worth exactly what I paid for them.
Free.
They were terrible. Free. They were
They're
terrible.
worth zero.
They're basically, now I called them business owners, but they were basically businesses that weren't bankrupt that were in business. So to have available people who responded, who called in on the telephone or wrote on a piece of paper and mailed in that they were interested, that just blew my mind. That was just, it blows my mind to this day. It's such a gift. It really is.
What was the inconsistency part Christian was referring to? Were you just not getting enough leads? Were you not dialing frequently enough? What was that inconsistency part of it?
The inconsistency part.
Like you weren't, like you started hitting literally, I'm a numbers guy, right? So I watch numbers, right? Like I can tell you Christian's numbers for months. I watch numbers all the time. Your numbers have gone from like kind of like this to like this way up, right? Like, so you're consistently moving higher on your numbers. What was that point that started getting you hitting bigger numbers?
And Christian, you were about to say something. What were you going to say?
She got more leads.
Well, I wanted her to say it.
Oh,
Christian.
okay.
I knew what the answer was.
That's true. I increased my lead, my standing lead order.
What do you do on a weekly basis leads wise now?
You know,
just tell the truth. Just tell the truth.
I think like 25, around 25.
That's fine. Hey, listen, there's no right answer to this. I mean, your job is to run a business, maintain profitability, and be successful, not to kind of skirt around how much you're spending on leads. Because the problem is I have people on the call. I'm looking at faces right now, like looking at you, right? Because I can see them, Kimberli. I can see them. They're looking at you right now and they're looking for the answers and they're going, what do I have to do to write $11,000 in a week? Well, the answer is what, Kimberli? Tell them real quick. Tell them what's the answer.
Well, you got to you got to buy leads, then you
Okay.
got to make the phone calls, set the appointments, and do the interviews.
And that's it, right? I mean, it's a simple process, but if they have no leads, are they gonna write 11,000 in a week?
No,
And see,
no,
that was the same thing you were going through, right? You might have been writing business, but you weren't writing $11,000 in a week. You might have been writing like 2 or 3 or 4,000 bucks in a week. Now you're writing 11,000 in a week, but it's because you're getting 25 leads a week.
yes, or more if I need to.
Oh, hey, but see, and that is, if there's anything, I'm watching y'all, listen to this closely. She just said the magic words right there. I'm getting more if I need to. What would create that if I need to part, Kimberly? That's what I want to know. What would create that?
Well, my goal is to get 6 appointments every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 24 total for the week. And if I'm not getting that, then I got to go, in my mind, I got to go buy more leads.
Because it's not about the money you spend on the leads. It's about the volume you produce to generate your income, right?
Right.
So most people live in scarcity, trying to scrimp and save their way to greatness, but there is no such thing as that, is there?
No,
No
at all.
chance. No chance. The other part I wanted to, so I thought it was interesting. You were talking about needs analysis. You just were unsure of what exactly to wear or write when you were writing a client a policy. So Christian had you fill out the needs analysis sheet, which we have online, but you would fill that sheet out. And if you didn't know what to write, you would just take a picture of it and send it to him.
In the beginning, every single time I sent a picture to him, I didn't know.
But was he objective to that, or was he accepting of it?
No, that's what he told me to do.
Oh, I know. I'm well
It was
aware.
his
I know.
idea.
I think Kimberly, people go, I don't want to do it because I feel like it's an inconvenience of some sort. Christian, was it some sort of inconvenience to you ever?
It's part of her job. It's part of my job. You know, I didn't bring her in to just let her drown. You know, I brought her in. It's my responsibility to help her be successful, and that's part of it.
So Kimberly, it made a world of a difference. Do you feel like it helped you learn products better too that way? Instead of going and pulling open a website and going, let me read through Forrester's, let me read through American Amicable. Because the problem is no offense towards them. If they're listening, I would tell them this to their faces. Their underwriting guides suck. And so the problem is like you could like have like 3 medications, look at a Forrester's underwriting guide and it says approved. But if you send it to Christian be like, don't write that, it's going to get declined. Did you notice that that's kind of how it worked? There was stuff that you would be like, well, that should be approved. And then Christian be like, don't write it with them, write it with this carrier.
Absolutely. He told me in the beginning that just by doing that, I would learn exactly what you're talking about. And I was willing to believe what he said. And you know what? I mean, I still have a lot more to learn, but I know, I mean, I can now look at stuff. I don't send him the needs analysis anymore. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Well, he appreciates it, I'm sure, because I'm sure you got it down now. But isn't it interesting how you learn by proxy of like sending that to him and he'll go, hey, don't do this because it's not going to get approved. Send it to this carrier. It's going to get approved through them because of these medications. And then all of a sudden you start memorizing that and going, hey, if they have this, this, and this, I can't write it with this carrier. I got to send it over here, or it's not. It's interesting that's how we learn. There's a lot of psychology about learning that actually helps us better our learning abilities better as well by learning in that process. So I love it. So it made it a lot easier. Is there anything else that you can, just imagine there's people on this call that aren't doing $11,000 every single week, or 10 or 8 or whatever you're doing, the freakish amount that you're doing on a weekly basis, which is amazing because you actually beat Christian this week, which I like. I remember when Rick Azuri started beating me, I was like, thank God somebody actually stepping up and beating me finally. But I love that you're beating him. And is there anything that you can give a tip to, just one more tip of like, hey, listen, do yourself a favor, do this because it's going to help you out a lot as well, or don't do this because you're just going to make yourself go mad. Is there anything you can think of that maybe would help somebody out that's listening to you right now?
I think that the head stuff can be a real block. I try to control my thinking because especially starting out, you know, your brain can tell you, oh, this isn't going to work. That isn't going to work. You can't do this. You can't do that. Oh yeah, right. You know, I think that I really, I really like that there to this day, there's this group of Indians and they're rain dancers and people still call them when they have droughts to come out and bring the rain. And they've never failed. Every time they've ever done this, there's always been rain. So they were asked, how can you have 100% success rate? And their answer was easy. We just keep dancing until it rains. So that's what I've been doing, you know, is just chipping away, you know, day by day, hour by hour. And I'm just keeping on dancing, and I'm not quitting because all this stuff, I need to mess up. I need to fail so I can learn. You know, it's not just I walk through the doors and I'm going to do everything perfectly. And I've heard people say, you know, fail quickly because you learn quickly. So
Kimberli, I was talking to Chuck Knox. He's on here. I could see his face. I was talking to him not an hour ago about the number one issue people run into in business is that they stop wanting to learn. They think they know everything. They stop wanting to learn. And that's why people fail in business. It's not because they are not smart. It's not because they don't have skill. It's that they don't want to continue to strive to learn. And I was telling him, I said, Chuck, every day of my life, I try to find people to learn more from because I'm scared to death that I will go stagnant like most people do. And when you see a decline in people, it's because they decide they just know better than everybody else and they don't want to learn anymore. So I love how you just said that. Like, I'm not kidding. I love it. I love the dancing till it just rains analogy. It's kind of funny because you just think about it. You go, how did you have a success rate? Because I just danced until it actually started to rain, you know? So I love that. So thank you so much, Kimberli. Christian, thank you as well for getting on call. I'll tell you, if there's one thing I can tell you guys before I get off this call is this: if your leader is not doing what these guys are telling you to do, maybe they don't have the capability to do it. You need to find somebody that will do it for you. Not meaning that you're the person, like, listen, if you're direct to me, I don't dial and book appointments anymore, but I will continuously promote Chuck's dialing sessions all the time. I think you need to plug in, you need to listen to the reality of people getting told no. Like Kimberli was talking to us about, like Christian, like he writes tons of volume. He wrote, I think it's like $53,000 last month, but he gets told no just like everybody else. Chuck runs appointments. He gets told no just like everybody else. But the difference is why their teams and why the individuals on their teams are starting to have success. It's because they see that. So that when Kimberli gets told no on the phone, she's not blindsided by the fact that somebody's going to tell her no from a lead. These leads aren't like a miracle machine. Remember, the goal of a lead is to get someone on the phone. Your job is to book it, not their job. Your job is to book it. Your job is to get into a house and close a deal. And sometimes you can't, but you need to see that there's just reality behind these top producers that are getting told the exact same thing. So I love it. I would just encourage you this week, search for that ability, search for somebody to get in front of. If you don't have anybody in your local area to listen to dial, listen, Chuck advertises his dial sessions twice a week. Jump on it, listen to it. Christian will help you too. These guys are amazing. They're very open to giving to the team. So they'll help you because they know it comes back to them. So I love it. Kimberli, Christian, thank you all so much. We appreciate y'all getting on the call. I know I know sometimes it gets a little nerve wracking because you don't know exactly what I'm going to ask you, but I try not to sideswipe you too bad with questions. So to everybody else, go out, have a great week. Again, let me encourage you, last encouragement, get on the phone, talk to the leads department, leads@equusfinancial.com, learn about standing lead orders, educate yourself, and get ready. And remember, Christian talked about Kimberli's biggest issue was the consistency in that lead flow. Go out there and get a consistent lead flow. Trust your own abilities. That's the one thing I'll tell you. Trust your own abilities. We are a surviving survive. We are survivors. Humans are survivors. You get leads, you'll survive because you will fight for survival. I promise you. So I appreciate everybody getting on. I look forward to seeing you guys have a great week. We'll talk to you guys next week. Look forward to some other calls coming up. I can't wait for Eric One to host a call on some other special guests. So we'll see you guys all then. All right. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.